What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Ratch Report. It is time to talk about the Toronto Raptors. I was planning on making a video regarding some of the draft prospects that the Raptors could take with the ninth overall pick, but we got some major news to talk about regarding Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Raptors being one of two favorite teams to land him as well. So I'm going to be discussing for today's video whether the Raptors should trade for Giannis, who they should trade, and what the long-term plans would be for a team like the Toronto Raptors if they were to acquire Giannis Antetokounmpo. So if you're ready to watch, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And with that being said, let's get into today's video. Now, it was being reported by Legion Hoops that report Giannis prefers to stay in the Eastern Conference, according to Scoop. Two teams that have emerged as destinations of interest for the two-time MVP are the Toronto Raptors and the Brooklyn Nets. Now, first of all, I do not blame Giannis in any way, shape, or form for wanting to stay in the Eastern Conference. When you look at the Western Conference as a whole, there's just way too many teams that could make the finals every single season. And given Giannis' situation, his age, he obviously wants to win now and not go into a situation where he may make the finals maybe one more year throughout the rest of his career. And just given, the juggernauts that the Western Conference has, like the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Nuggets. Now you got, Dallas Mavericks who could look good as well. And I mean, there's several teams there, that could really be very scary to face off even in the first round as well. So do not blame Giannis for staying or wanting to stay in the Eastern Conference. Now, Raptors Republic actually came out with an article stating that Giannis is interested in Toronto. I couldn't find anywhere else where it stated that. So I find that to be quite interesting. And also, just given the situation and the landscape of the Eastern Conference, it makes a lot of sense that the Brooklyn Nets and the Toronto Raptors are two teams that could be interested in Giannis' services. Now, this would not be the first time that the Toronto Raptors, in particular Masai Ujiri, is being linked to Giannis Antetokounmpo. We know well before he got drafted, the Raptors tried very, very hard to trade into that pick to draft Giannis, and of course they weren't able to get it. And even several years back, where there were some rumors before he signed that extension with the Milwaukee Bucks, the Toronto Raptors were attempting to free up a lot of cap space to make a run at him during the summertime as well. But we know again that did not happen. Now, Giannis, it is important when we talk about potential trades to have a look at his contract situation. And as you see here, he's currently slated to make $54 million next season. He's got 3 more years left, with the third being a player option. The following season, he'd make $58.4 million. And the player option would be $62.7 million, which, he would be 33 by that time. Now, a lot of people may ask, why the Toronto Raptors? Why are they being linked to, a player like Giannis? They're not ready to win. Well, actually, when you take all of the moves into consideration that they made last season, even leading up to the trade deadline, they actually want to win now. Now, why is that the case? For one simple reason only. They were able to get Brandon Ingram for the cheap. They obviously wanted to get rid of Bruce Brown's contract as well. And just given the way the NBA is going, it makes sense that you don't want to prolong your retooling for too long. And when you're able to buy and get someone, on the low for Brandon Ingram, only for one first round pick and a couple of seconds, I believe, and, expiring contracts, that's not bad, at all. Now, in terms of obviously making the money work, when you take a look at the Toronto Raptors salary cap situation here, it's going to be a little bit challenging. Again, I don't want you to look at 2024, 2025. I want you to look at 2025, 2026. That is when the Toronto Raptors, are going to be having some salaries that they can throw in for, of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo. So again, keep in mind that Giannis does make approximately $54.1 million. You would have to come close to that, just given, both teams' salary cap situation. So the first player that comes to mind, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, why don't we just trade Brandon Ingram with another player? It's not going to happen, guys. It's just not going to happen. In terms of some of the other players that you could potentially look to trade, I know some people have suggested you could trade, RJ Barrett, along with, of course, Jakob Poeltl. Then you can throw in a few other guys like Ochai in there. Obviously, we'd have to throw in multiple first-round picks. And then you would have a lineup of Giannis, Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, obviously Manuel Quickly, and then Grady Dick or, Jacoby Walter, if one of those two aren't traded, thrown into the trade. But realistically, we do have to be honest when we talk about trades. I mean, you're trading for a former MVP, someone who's put up 30 points in 3 consecutive seasons. He's been, a top 5, I believe, in MVP voting for I want to say 3 or 4 seasons now, even probably longer. He has, obviously had a lot of MVP caliber type of seasons. Even this season, he's top 3 in MVP candidates. And a very interesting note, obviously a lot of people don't want to depart with Scotty Barnes. I think if Milwaukee's having a trade discussion with the Toronto Raptors, you're probably going to be asking for Scotty Barnes right off the bat and not anyone else. Now, I know the consensus for a lot of Raptors fans maybe no, it doesn't make a lot of sense. For Scotty Barnes, he could be, our lockdown defender, while Giannis really focuses on scoring. And I don't disagree with that. And Giannis does have high praise for Scotty Barnes as well. But I think ultimately, if you do make a deal for Giannis, you have to throw Scotty Barnes' contract. And there does become a little bit of a challenge when you talk about making the money work, however, because when you look at Scotty Barnes, $38.6 million, you have to talk about throwing some other money in there as well. And this is where the challenge comes from, right? Like you can throw Ochai Abaji in there. That makes about, I want to say $43 million. You're still short approximately. You're still short about $10 million. So where does the rest of the $10 million come from? Like, are you willing to throw Grady Dick, Jacoby in there as well? And it just doesn't make sense, right? That's where it's kind of nice to have players like Chris Boucher and Kelly Olynyk last season, where you have a lot of money you can kind of throw in trades. But one option the Raptors could do is obviously throw in Scotty Barnes. Ochai Agbaji is going to be tough to give up, but he does need an extension next season. I don't know if the Raptors want to pay him a large sum of money. So you can possibly throw that. And of course, our ninth pick as well. That should be making, I want to say, if my math is correct, or from my memory, I should say, what the Raptors are expected to pay, or what the draft pick at the number nine spot should be approximately around $6-7 million approximately. So then you can kind of throw in, maybe Colin Castleton in there, But if I'm the Toronto Raptors and I'm negotiating with the Bucks, and particularly I'm throwing in Scotty Barnes in that situation, you're not offering a ton of first round picks. Like I'm not throwing more than one, maybe maximum two first round picks, and that second first round pick I'm throwing better come with heavy protections, right? Because Scotty Barnes alone is worth about two first round picks, maybe three, depending on how you feel about him. So you're already giving up a really good young player to the Milwaukee Bucks. So for the Toronto Raptors, it'll be interesting to see how the negotiations go. Again, if you throw in Scotty Barnes in there, it's going to be tough. And I know some people suggest, well, if you acquire Giannis, you can trade Jakob Poeltl and have Giannis play the five. Guys, Giannis does not want to play the five. It's quite obvious by this time of his career, he is not someone that wants to play the five. He probably won't enjoy it. And I think it's safe to say that, I think Jakob Poeltl should be sticking around, especially with Giannis here. It'll just really help bolster your defense. Obviously, Giannis can play the center position. I don't think he wants to. But in terms of Giannis, let's quickly talk about him before we end the video, guys. As I mentioned, like you look at his stats, and if you're looking at this and telling me you would not trade Scotty Barnes for this, you're absolutely insane. Like it's insane the amount of rebounds he gets, his assists. I mean, this past season, he averaged 30.4 points per game, 11.9 rebounds, 6.5 assists, 1.2 blocks per game. And I mean, he goes to the free throw line so much, even though his free throw percentage may not be great. I mean, the guy is an absolute MVP caliber player. And I know people are going to say, well, if you're trading Scotty Barnes, why are we trading him for a 30-year-old? It's not just any 30-year-old. It is someone that maintains their body really well. If it was Joel Embiid, I could make the case of, yes, we shouldn't trade Scotty, But if I'm the Toronto Raptors, I am absolutely throwing Scotty in that trade discussion. The question also becomes, I mean, how many more picks are you going to throw in there, right? Because Scotty Barnes is a lot to throw in there from the Toronto Raptors point of view. And I do also believe, just for a lot of people that say they won't trade Scotty Barnes, the question also becomes, it's going to be a really odd fit, right? So anyways, guys, that's my thoughts on Giannis. I think it would be a great addition. And I do want to quickly say before we end the video, for those that feel like it may be a little bit rushed, or you may feel like, well, why are we going to trade for Giannis? Why don't we just keep our roster together? Listen, we do not have a long window to win in the NBA. Now, why do I say that? I want to quickly put up the salary cap situation yet once again. As you guys know, the Raptors, if you look at the bottom of the screen, next season, the Raptors are at $181 million, $0.8 million. That's not including our first round pick, who should make around $6-7 million. So we're going to be in the luxury cap regardless. And that makes trades so much more challenging. And also, when you take into consideration the salaries that will be expiring, you got Jakob Poeltl that's expiring, after next season. You're going to have Ochai Agbaji, who's going to be asking for a raise. And Jakob Poeltl, don't get this twisted. He's getting a raise as well from that $19.5 million, even though he's getting up there in age. And then the following season, you have RJ Barrett and Brandon Ingram can potentially remove his player option, say no, and either leave or ask for more money. And then you also have Grady Dick as well. He'll need a pay raise. So again, this roster, the way it's constructed, isn't set to be the same roster for another 3, 4 seasons. There's a very small window for the Toronto Raptors to win and build on this. And ultimately, even if you figure out the salary situation or if trades with guys like Jakob Pertl and Ochai Agbaji, it's easier said than done. And just considering, the Eastern Conference and particularly Jason Tatum being injured as well, the East could be a lot more open next season as opposed to previous seasons. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, Giannis, the really only team, I know the Pacers have beat him in back-to-back seasons, but if he's on the Toronto Raptors, the only team I would really be concerned about would be the Boston Celtics. But considering their situation, Kristaps being injury prone, Drew Holiday being injury prone, both of those guys could possibly be dealt during the offseason. I think the Raptors are in a great position to trade for Giannis and make a strong playoff push for next season and also make a deep playoff push, most importantly. So, again, I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I apologize if I sound a little bit off. I'm still quite under the weather and not feeling too well, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section. There's no trivia question. So if you would like a shout out, let me know in the comment section below and I'll give you a shout out for my next video. So that will be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. And I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.